Welcome back to another episode of the Rocky Mountain Fantasy YouTube interview show, if you want to call it that. We have a very special guest today. It is the one, the only, with the greatest YouTube channel in motorcycles, Trey Canard.
Fastest growing.
Fastest growing. You can say whatever you want. Fastest growing, doesn't matter. We need some more. I saw you don't have a brace on right now from your broken arm.
Yeah, man, we're about back on the grind. I started riding again. Actually, yesterday was kind of like my first real day of putting in some laps. So, yeah, excited, man. Excited to get back at it. The content's been on the lull, man. We got to get it going again.
We need those. We need the boner airs and the butt whips. It's kind of
dude.
People need.
I try so hard. You know, the YouTube guy, Gregory Gibbs, is like. Dude, he tries everything with his content. We just post one goon riding video, and it just doesn't.
Have you created this personality where now you almost feel like I have to kind of do some of that in every video, or how does that work?
I think the reason it does well is it's pretty. We don't do a lot of it, you know. So when people see it, they're like into it. So I don't want to wear it out, but and then hopefully, there's some valuable stuff for people to see on the YouTube as well, other than some big head whips and things like that. But yeah,
what made you want to do a YouTube channel? What made you want to start one?
I don't know, man. It was Gregory Gibbs. He has Ammo MX is here local, and he's kind of mentioned wanting to do something, and I'm like, maybe I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to watch me do anything at this point in my life. And so I figured let's give it a year and just see what it does. We're almost on a year mark, and I think I've had fun with it. You know, that's probably the biggest thing. And I have a hard time, the whole like subscribe, notification, push the button for the notifications. It's like, I struggle with like that kind of like selling extra, being extra. But what I really hope for it to be is one, just fun. We have All for One, which is kind of like a video podcast where I like to, just interview really people I admire and people I like. And then some good writing. There's some serious bits there too. So I don't know. I just hope to have some fun with it, and hopefully it's adding value to people's lives in some way.
Oh, here's a question, because you mentioned the All for One podcast. This just came to me while you're saying that. Give me your top 3 all-time bucket list interviewees you would like to have on that podcast. Does not have to be motor related. Like what's the Rushmore for Trey Canard to have on the show?
Man, I don't know. That's a big question right there.
Give me one moto industry personality and one non-moto. Let's do that.
Okay. All right. So Malcolm Gladwell, I think, is like one of the most interesting people in the world to me. I don't know if you know Malcolm Gladwell, several just amazing books. He has a podcast called Revisionist History. I don't know that I could hang, like the level of conversation, like the amount of brains I would need to like actually sustain that would probably be way too much. But super interesting guy. Would love to hear more about him. And moto related, man, I don't know. There's so many good ones, it'd probably be some older guys, I just feel like there's so much wisdom sitting out there in this older generation that's not really super interested in podcasts. I know just so many stories to be told, like a David Bailey or, a Roger DeCosta or, man, there's just, I don't know. They've just been in the sport for like such a long time. And there's so many cool stories that we don't really know, there wasn't social media. Like you hear kind of legend. I would love to sit down with someone like Johnny O, just hear the things that happen. So yeah, that's probably.
I like it. Hey, be honest with me. We saw Jet go out, and then we see Hunter go out. When Hunter crashed, did you raise an eyebrow and think this could be it? Trey Canard's return to Supercross racing. It was the first thing I thought, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, I didn't. Number one, I was just concerned, like I was really bummed for Hunter. Like I felt like we were just getting somewhere with the bike. Um, and so I was thinking, I was really feeling like, hey, that final practice in Tampa, he really looked good. And it was the first time watching him all year that he was really connecting well. And I was like, okay, it's on, I feel like he can compete, like, and he felt pretty happy with the bike. And so I was really just devastated for him. And for the team too. It's just like such a buzzkill
Right.
throughout the team. Everyone's working so hard. And so I was bummed. And initially we all thought, hey, his shoulder's sore, but he'll be back next week. He'd go through concussion protocol or whatever. And he'll be fine. And then to hear that week, you know, not good that he wouldn't be coming back. But so there's that. And then also, being that we don't have, just a huge, a lot of times like an energy drink company or something like that, they're really pushing to always have someone on the bike.
Yeah, Honda doesn't have an obligation.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but it seems like the pressure to put someone on the bike is very minimal.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know. And the fact that I've been hurt for the last 8 weeks too, didn't really like the thought of going and racing a supercross next week isn't overly exciting to me, I'm
Right.
still trying to do push-ups at this point. So, I don't think it really hit me. I think the idea, if motocross rolls around are still not like, finding people and that kind of thing, that sounds kind of appealing to me to do a round or two. But to
Okay.
jump into supercross, like not in form it just sounds like a bad day.
Fair enough. I know Brayton got a text or a phone call, and he was like, no, like I am sticking to the retirement thing. I think Dino would be a smart choice just because he's not going to take it too serious. He's probably not going to be one like, hey, let's go test. Like he's going to be like, I know what my job is. Provide me a bike and and do it. And he brings good publicity. So that would be my pick, is that put Dino on the bike. But I've heard rumors, don't know if it's true.
Yeah, we've got a team meeting here in a bit, so I should learn a little bit more. So,
Cool.
yeah, I think Dino would be great. I mean, he's got enough experience behind him. He's been on a lot of good teams, and I think we've got to keep that in mind as well. It's not just about having someone ride the bike; it's about continuing to develop the bike so that next year, when Hunter and Jet hop back on that
Right.
thing, we made step towards where we want to be. So.
Well, and has been riding a Honda now for like the last year and a half. So that probably helps.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And Dino, he's just a likable guy. So and gets along well, knows everyone well. So I think it's a natural fit. But yeah, we'll see. I know it's hard. He's at that point in his career where it's you're kind of trying to pull out a little bit, but there's also still a lot of good opportunities. So
Right.
maybe it could work out.
All right. All right. Let's shift gears here a little bit and let's talk about what we just witnessed in Detroit. Chase Sexton. I don't know how he just drilled the gate that hard. I think Jason Thomas brought up a good point that, like, normally when somebody flinches next to you, which I thought for a split second that AP did flinch. I watched it back a million times. I didn't see anybody flinch. But what JT was saying is that when somebody flinches, you'll flinch, but you always kind of catch yourself. In this scenario, Sexton just flat out dumped the clutch. So, one, do you think he tried to time the gate? Two, have you ever done that where nobody flinched next to you, but for whatever reason, your brain just said go and the gate was still up?
I don't know. I mean, there's been some drama over the last few years about being able to hear the gate drop. There's a big air release, and
Yeah, it was Glendale Tomac. They were thinking Tomac did that, right? Because
yeah, and you rewind back to San Francisco last year. Chase pulls that ridiculous hole shot.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that's total speculation. But sometimes you just if you hear something, it's like when you're that keyed up and you want that whole shot that bad, your instinct is to go. And so
When you raced, could you hear the air? Like, was it the same as it is now?
I don't know if you could, I mean, there's a reason why. I believe there's a couple reasons why you see people lining up against the box, right? One, you have that open area around yourself on your left and right, where you're
Right.
not going to have another rider. So that's helpful, but that is the closest location to that air release. So you can see, I think 2 years ago, I mean, it was like every single number one qualifier kind of, no matter where we
Talking about the
were,
box.
no matter what the first turn looked like, it was like the right next to the box was it. Box was it. I couldn't. I don't remember ever hearing it. I remember Daytona. There for some reason one of their I think because there was no doghouse at some point, they had their own special gate at Daytona, and they just had like one transponder in this little box. And so I remember being able to hear that one, but I wasn't quick enough to kind of like catch on that that's what was happening. So I don't know. Again, that's just speculation as
Right.
to why anyone would just pummel the gate. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the only thing I can come up with. Either that or, we're riders, we make mistakes and these things
Sure.
happen. I can't imagine that he was trying to time the gate though.
That seems crazy to me.
I mean, I would sometimes count, but kind of go like 1, 2, 3, because at like that 1 to 5 seconds sometimes feels like an eternity. So you can kind of like, okay, I know it's going to come soon. Like the gate drop's going to happen soon.
Right.
But I've never gone like 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's going to drop at 5 and just let it go.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that's what he did.
It's kind of crazy to me. I think some guys do this on purpose because I think the longer you sit there focused on the gate, the worse your reaction time will actually be. I think so I see a lot of guys where you'll see that 30-second car girl go sideways. She walks off, and it's like, it feels like 2-3 seconds before some of the guys will actually click into gear and get set to go because they're trying to like be set and ready a second or two before the gate drops. It's just what I've noticed, but I don't know.
Yeah, I never did. I mean, I was always like in gear. With my starts weren't that great. I had really good starts for periods and terrible starts for periods in my career. But I was always like in gear while the guy it was like probably wearing out
You're taking
my
no
clutch,
risks.
just sitting there, just pulled in, ready to go. But
Okay.
yeah, it's probably a good mood, like you're saying, just to throw it in gear when the card goes sideways.
Yeah. All right. So Sexton had a phenomenal ride. I've been pretty impressed this year with Webb. Everyone's always talked about, well, there's always the stigma that Webb just didn't have the speed to keep up with those guys. But to me, I feel like Webb has just gotten better everywhere as a rider this year. He's skimming the whoops. That doesn't seem to be a weak point for him. And you look at where him and Kenny finishing, gosh dang, it was like over 20 seconds ahead of. So Chase got into third, but by the time he got to third, there was still like a 20-something second gap. So he was not going to catch the front two, no matter how long he had. So, yeah, it's kind of surprising. Like, I think those three have obviously kind of separated themselves from the pack a little bit as far as speed goes, but Cooper Webb's kind of surprised me. And right now, if I'm Cooper Webb, we're tied with the points lead. With how mentally strong he is, he's just got to feel so good about where he's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, Coop is. It's funny because people don't talk about him often. It seems like preseason he's not really ever mentioned.
Yeah.
But as soon as he gets that momentum, it's really hard to bet against him.
Right.
If he's in second with a few laps to go and he's on the leader's tire, I mean, I think most people are probably thinking he's going to win that race. Unfortunately, I mean, I lived that with Ken for a few years, and it just knew like, man, if Coop is back there, where he's gonna go for it. So,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah, I
unfortunately,
don't know. I think to me the whole field elevated this year. Like I don't know what happened this offseason, but it seemed like everyone was good because I mean, even before Jet got hurt at Glendale, he was riding incredible. Like watching time qualifying between him and Chase and Tomac was just like stupid. I mean, they were just I don't know how you could go faster around the track, and they just continue to like elevate.
Yeah,
And
and
so I just think everyone is really good. I think to me it looks like they've got Coop's bike figured out for him better. I don't think it was
yeah.
ever a problem for Tomac. I feel like Tomac always was really comfortable on it, but it seems like to me he looks comfortable skimming the whoops, and I don't think he's been comfortable skimming the whoops in like years. So, I mean, 250s, he was historically pretty good in whoops.
Hmm.
Seemed like when he went to 450, he just didn't quite get it figured out until this year. So,
Right.
so I think he's just man, he's just Coop. He's just going to be there every single time. And what I do not like for those guys is he's starting to get that belief that makes him really dangerous.
Yeah, I felt bad because, being there on the floor, you see it, Kenny's out front, Coop's there, and you're like, I've seen this movie a lot of times. Just wait till 5 minutes or less, and that's when the actual race will start. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's unfortunate. And Kenny, on the podium, he said, yeah, I know there's a stigma that Coop always passes me late in the race, but I'm okay with this one. Like, I'm happy at the podium. And I'm like, whatever you got to say to keep a positive attitude, because, it'd be tough, man. Like, it's just happened so many times. It would be tough. But Coop, though, we were talking about the speed. Watching him in qualifying, I feel like there's even more, I'm not going to say urgency, but it looks like he's trying even harder in qualifying. Like in Detroit, he was scrubbing the finish line harder than anybody I saw, the triple. Like you can tell it's like he has a point to prove. Like, I'm not just the guy that'll I'm not just the opportunist. I also have the speed to battle with it. And maybe that's still like getting Sexton's head a little bit. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these stories get told about these guys a lot, that they don't have the speed or whatever. But Coop is always, I mean, he's not qualifying 10th. I mean, he's
No. And you're not a two-time Supercross champ in 450s and multiple-time 250 and outdoor 250 champion if you don't rip on a dirt bike,
exactly. Yeah. So maybe he's not just like ultra good at the one lap sprints, but yeah, dude, time qualifying is just gnarly right now. It's like there really needs to be some kind of incentive for it because these guys are pushing. It's just insane how hard they're pushing for that lap, and to do that for pretty much nothing. I mean, it's kind of to me, it's getting so gnarly that you got to put some incentive behind it to kind of rationalize that.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it's insane.
This is pure speculation, but like with Tomac's injury, does he do that if he's not pressing so hard in qualifying to get a fast lap time? You know what I mean? Like, I agree with you. I think it's making these guys ride at as fast as they can possibly ride a dirt bike for one lap, for one gate position, one pick on the heat race. And so it's a little crazy. I love this dude. I don't know how you feel. I would love to see super pulls. When they do like the races over in Europe, watching each guy take a lap with nobody else on the track, I think is the coolest thing ever. Nobody's getting in their way. The fans are getting an extra show. Did you ever do any overseas races, do the super pull thing?
I did Bercy in Geneva, Italy once, and I mean, it was really cool, especially for that type of event. Like there's not really. I mean, the top 450 guys are essentially the show.
Yeah.
I think it would be hard for Supercross here in the US to do it. You've just got so much to fit into a few hours. So, have a couple heat races and then the Super Bowl. I don't know that it like totally fits together. I'm sure they could figure it out, and maybe you just do it at a select few rounds.
I'm saying do a free practice, and then or one time or just do one free practice to get the track down. Next time they come out, you guys all line up. You each get 2 laps. Go. Just if you mess it up, you mess it up. You got 2 tries to get down your heater.
I just like the idea, when we do it, or when they do it in Paris or whatever, the track is always pretty bent, and that's what's cool because you can really see how far you guys can go. I mean, at the end of the main, it's like I wish people could walk on that track. You know, you've been down there. Like it is.
It's not really much of a track anymore.
It's not. I mean, it's like to actually even fix it with anything would be hard. So I don't think people appreciate what that is and how fast these guys can go if the conditions were actually perfect. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, we are a very unique sport in that the conditions of the playing field, whatever you want, the track, whatever you want to call it, is such a factor in the outcome of a race. You don't see it in NASCAR unless like maybe some rain comes in. You don't see it in foot and ball sports, golf, nothing. It's like we're a very unique sport in that the track is so different from when you start to when you end, and it can cause such a big outcome on how the race is going to be determined.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what gives guys like me job security. I mean, because the data is so for something like road race where you have the same track multiple years, and maybe it's different, maybe they resurface some areas, maybe it's hot and maybe the tires are warming differently, but I mean,
Right.
for the most part, your data is going to be really good, like few
Yeah.
variables. Dude, motocross, supercross data is just all over the place. So I mean, the fact that you can't just be a good rider anymore. I mean, you've got to know what to do with your bike to be able to adapt and adjust. I mean, you've got to be a good rider and you've got to be somewhat of a technician, in the fact that you can
Right.
go, okay, track's going this way and I need to do this. It's gnarly.
That's like one of Webb's strengths, right? He's able to do that. Yeah, and then like you get to where it's like you can't really just go off of Detroit from last year because Detroit has been a really hard packed slick track, and then it can be incredibly soft and ruddy, just depending on how much moisture it gets before they show up. So there's all these. The data you guys have is kind of useful, but kind of not all at the same time.
Yeah, especially, I mean, there's just like suspension data I don't want to say that it's useless, but you talk to someone that's like outside of it, they're like, well, why don't you just have suspension data? That will tell you what you need to do. In ways it helps, but man, there's so much that goes into a feeling and, oh man, it's like that's what I think makes our sport so unique. And like you're saying, is that there's an art to it really.
Right.
So where you've got to have this perfect blend of you and the bike, and it's awesome. I mean, I think that's what's really intrigued me over. I mean, my role is kind of that, but it's intriguing, man, to think how that all works together.
How do they? So from a testing standpoint, so we saw like earlier in this year in Supercross, obviously Jet and Hunter were trying to get the bike dialed in. It appeared to me, and this is also listening to what they're saying on the broadcast, James Stewart and them, that Jet's bike wasn't getting as much like rear wheel traction. Like it wasn't just getting the drive forward that maybe some of the other bikes were. Either way, when you see that, or if Jet says, hey, this is what I'm feeling, on your end and the team's end, how do you, if you're like, okay, the bike is struggling getting rear end traction, it's not sticking to the ground, where do you guys even know to start? Because there's so many things you could tackle to address the same problem, right? You could look at the rear end not driving and say, well, maybe the suspension's too stiff, or maybe our ratio on the linkage is wrong, or it's just there's so many things that can affect. Does that make sense? Like it's almost like you could solve a problem several different ways on the bike, and how do you narrow it down to which one is going to be you're gonna go after first?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you there's like a really great scientific formula to it, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of hard work. It's long days, and we all have theory, right? Watching Anaheim 1, I'm watching the bike going, oh, I don't like what I see. The team is watching the bike and they're going, oh, I don't like what I see. And then Jet's like, man, I think I couldn't do it. And so we just all put our heads together and we go, hey, this is where we've been. We know
Mm-hmm.
that we're here for a reason, right? Like we just didn't create this bike to be this way because it was just, out of thin air. It wasn't some,
Right.
throwing spaghetti at the wall. There was a reason why we got it this way. So we need to use that information to then give us direction on where to go. And so I don't know if that helps, but you've got to take your experience from what you've already done, analyze the information that you have, and then use those two things, and then move forward. And then two, one of the reasons our team has done well, I think, in the last couple of years, one, we have phenomenal riders, but
Mm-hmm.
two, we have a team that allows each other to uh, have ideas.
Right.
We're okay with being wrong, and I think that's really important to say, hey, someone's like, hey, why don't we do this? And Daz would be like, nah, it's a terrible idea. And then this other person will say this, and it's kind of like, yeah, that could work, and then by the end of your discussion, you've got kind of a little bit of a roadmap to at least get you started. And then
Right.
the actual testing is where the proof in the pudding is. Um, so yeah,
Do you ever get,
it's
go ahead.
I think it's the group effort that's really got to give you that information. And we've got so many great people that, whether it's the team in Japan that's giving us great information, or our own experience, or I don't think Dazzy Lawrence gets enough credit for what he's done. I know he gets a lot of credit, but the guy is night and day trying to figure out how to help, and to kind of have that interaction with the team is really important. So I think it's a lot of things, but I think at the end of the day, if we can all, pull on the rope the same direction, that's the most important. Because when you get one guy that's like, it's got to be like this, and another guy that's got to be like this, and it just never ends well. So even if you
Okay.
don't agree with it, you've got to
Right.
be able to kind of go along.
Okay. Last question, Trey. Head into Indy. Well, in a few weeks, Indy is going to be the East-West Showdown. Who do you think, if you were a betting man right now in the 250 class, between Anstey, Anstey, Kitchen? We know Chance is like kind of riding his way into it, so hopefully by Indy he'll be in better shape and he'll be better. But looking at the East and West right now, who would you put your money on?
Oh man, I've been really impressed with Anstey, honestly.
He looks good.
The level of composure, I mean, and rightfully so. He's, over 30 years old. He should have that kind of composure. And I mean, that's not a diss, but
Right.
that's just to say, like the experience that he has and all the things he has, I think he should be the guy. He has the most experience, I think, worldwide in that class. So I think obviously I'm going to say Chance. I really believe in what he can do, but and I hope by Indy we're all kind of closer.
Right.
But I don't know. I really like what I see from Anstey right now. I mean, even in kind of like difficult defeat this weekend, I still saw a level of composure that I thought was, usually there's like one or two guys that kind of have that in a year, and you can just tell there's a level of confidence and security. They're not really doing anything out of insecurity. It's like they have so much confidence in themselves, what they've done, that it's like stuff rolls off of them pretty easy. And so I think, yeah, he'll be good. Hopefully Joe is back to full health too. I mean, our team, I feel bad for everyone. It's just been a hard season for our team.
Yeah. Is Joe's finger, do you know, is that something that he will just be able to deal with until it heals, or is he going to have to get surgery at some point, or did he already get surgery?
No, he's moving forward. I mean, it's for him to ride through it in the beginning. And if he was going to get it operated on, it should have been like straight away.
Yeah.
And he's just going to have a funky pinky for till he wants to get that thing rebroken, I guess. But it seems like he's able to actually ride a little bit now, and that's a big deal. But
Cool.
we'll see what shakes with Deegan too. He's had a bit of an up and down kind of season. There's always some kind of drama with him. So I mean,
Could you have imagined if this Anstey Kitchen deal had been Bomer and Deegan? Just what we'd be hearing like in the press conference and on the podium.
Yeah.
It would have been so good for TV.
It's getting some attention, but oh gosh, not my flavor for sure.
Yeah. Last thing I will say though is like Juju, like that kid is the real deal, man. Like I don't think as many people had him picked to be where he's at, but just his riding and everything it's been pretty. I think the future is in good hands with the level of talent we have right now in the 250 class. Like we've got this star-studded class right now in the 450s, all these older guys, right? But I'm telling you, Jet's going to get older. Chase is going to become, he's 25, but I've seen all these guys, Cole Davies now, Kitchen, I think is going to be a great 450 guy. I think we're in the next 5-6 years, we're going to have this gnarly 450 class like all over again.
Yeah, man, it's impressive. I've been really impressed with Juju himself. I just hope for Juju that he can make it out of this dramatic little thing with Deegan.
Right.
I think he's got incredible talent. He seems to have really great drive and work ethic, and is putting it together. And I hope for him that he can, like, whether he wins this championship or not, or is even in the fight for it at the end. I just hope he can take this momentum and build on it, because sometimes these dramatic seasons they can really play with you. I hope, because the Deegan stuff's just talk.
Yeah.
So I just hope that he can say, hey, I'm a good rider. It's everything that's said, all the drama, like I'm focused on me and I can move forward,
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Well, listen, Trey, you probably got some tests. I don't know what you got going on, but I hope it involves dirt bikes today.
Yeah. Thanks, man. We're almost back at it. So yeah, excited.
All right. Well, tell the people the name of your YouTube channel. Let's get it to be the fastest growing YouTube channel. What's the name of it?
Yeah, and it's actually the biggest YouTube channel.
The biggest.
Nationally, we're almost international now. So yeah, it's kind of hard to keep track of it, but it's Trey Canard Official, YouTube. Check me out, Trey Canard. That's my handle on the gram. So there's a link there too. So
love it.
Check it out. We'll have some more coming up soon.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and glad to see you're all healed up, and I hope I get to see you soon.
Cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for the time.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Sweet.
See ya.
See ya.